Steven, are you ready for your 10 questions?
Okay, I'm ready for my 10 questions.
Outstanding.
Right, yep.
Question number 1. If you had to choose between the two, which would you pick? Batman's utility belt or a fanny pack?
I think I'd go with Batman's utility belt.
So, would it matter if it was empty, or does it have to include all of the gadgets and stuff?
Well, that was my assumption, is Batman's utility belt would be fully stocked upon arrival.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, but in this particular case, it's not. It's either an empty fanny pack or an empty utility belt. You have to accessorize. Does that change your answer?
Well, I got to think about that. You see, so I don't actually really know what's on Batman's empty utility belt.
Yeah, you got like snaps and hooks and magnet stuff and little pouches.
Yeah, so I'll just stick with Batman's utility belt. And yeah.
Okay, great.
They're both empty. It sounds more useful than a fanny pack to me.
All right, question number 2. What is your favorite movie?
Oh my gosh, my favorite movie. You see, I don't have a favorite movie, although it probably leans towards like Wes Anderson movies in general, right?
Yeah.
Although, you know, as I start thinking about that, like I just watched the Darjeeling Limited again a couple of weeks ago. There's something about that movie that I really love. So that gets pretty close to my favorite movie.
Do you know what stands out in that? Like you said, you really love it. Is it the storyline? Is it a character? Is it a line? Is it the way it's shot?
Perhaps some of the latter. So there's a thing about Wes Anderson, and he's been sort of getting more detailed with his craft, I think, as he goes through and makes more movies. But there's a symmetry. The visual shot. I think the Grand Hotel Budapest was sort of more of an example of that. Like every shot is perfectly symmetrical. The coloring is just incredible. Like his detail, how he composes each one of those scenes. Each one's like a painting, like a work of art. I think that's the thing. Is like every scene, the way he composes each scene is a work of art, and that just kind of like, I'm just like, that's amazing, that's so beautiful. It really kind of draws me in.
Speaking of favorites, question number 3. What is a favorite quote?
So I'm not sure who said this. It might be one of the Stoics. Well, no, maybe I might be wrong about that, but the one that sort of sticks in my mind at the moment is, the way I do anything is the way I do everything. And I wish I knew who said that, but it's kind of one of those things that I know Ryan Holiday, who writes a lot about the Stoics, quotes that, but it's something that really, it's the sort of the Zen Buddhist thing too. It's like you pay attention to the details.
Right.
And get up in the morning and go about making the world a better place every single day.
What is the best advice you have ever received?
I had a boss probably about going on 10 years ago now. I think he had this way of being able to like buffer situations. So we're working in a big company, and there's always stuff happening, right? Always seems like we're in some sort of existential threat. I can't even say that this month. Existential threat.
Now you gotta say it 5 times fast.
He used to advise me in a lot of different ways as we were going forward, but the overall sense that I have from all of it is my whole interaction with him was just sort of seeing this calmness, this ability to buffer things, to be able to keep stuff at a distance, to be able to just be measured, see where the next step is, and just go take another step and move forward, and the situation will change, right? I mean, we always sort of have these feelings like, oh my gosh, this thing that we're in is going to stay that way forever.
Yeah.
But situations change, right? And so if you can just stay on your feet and keep moving forward, the situation will change, and then you'll find an angle, you'll find your break, the wedge, the place where you can go and you can move forward. So I have a lot of really good memories of his mentoring of me and helping advise me and moving me forward.
So if we're going back in time, let's go back a little further and ask question number 5. What was your favorite childhood toy?
Oh, that one's easy. That one's easy. My parents bought me a Meccano set, and I don't think they exist anymore, but back in the day, and this is of course going back several decades, it was a metal construction set full of pieces, with holes in them you could join, and nuts and bolts and washers and pulleys and crank handles and wheels. And so you could build things, and because it was metal, it was just a little bit more robust than, say, Lego, which was probably my second favorite toy. I'm an engineer, and my parents must have seen something in me of that from an early age, because they used to buy me a lot of those little construction sets.
Well, I have one more question for you while we're in the youth phase.
Okay.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Other than the usual, fireman, astronaut sort of
Yes.
things, I suppose.
Well, maybe it could have been that.
I think, the clearest memory I have now is actually I wanted to be an engineer from an early age. At least in terms of, maybe not if it wasn't just an engineer, but somebody who built things. My father was a doctor. He was a surgeon. He was actually an eye surgeon, and he wanted me to be follow him into the medical field, which I didn't, because I just liked engineering more. But I really sort of see like a lot of what he did as a doctor was really just like kind of engineering on humans. Like he'd get into the eye and do all sorts of cool stuff to help people see again.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that work and people that do that. As a guy that received LASIK, I appreciate that. What brings you joy?
Several things in my life bring me joy. Several things. Obviously, is my family, my kids, watching them grow up, and they're adults now and launched into the world, and seeing them with their careers and growing up and things like that. This brings me an immense amount of joy. I like drawing. I think that's one of the things. So in the last, whatever it's been now, year, right, with coronavirus and the pandemic and kind of being very isolated. So when I first started my career as an engineer, I was actually sitting at a drawing table, and we had to, there was no computer-aided design in those days. I sat down with a sheet of vellum in front of me and a pencil and a T-square, and so we would design these sailboats, and you'd have to like draw out, and you'd have to map out like, how am I going to describe this design and to the person who's going to build the boat.
Okay, so next question. To flip the script, what brings you dread?
It's really about developing my business in many ways. There's so much potential and joy and things that I want to do to help people be able to grow their businesses and get unstuck. That's the thing that brings me joy, right? To see the smile on someone's face because we managed to get through some obstacle and solve some problem. The obstacle between where I am now and to be able to do that for as many people as I'd like to is this thing called business development. And it's not so much picking up the phone, but it's engaging, it's talking to people, it's trying to find ways of being able to help them. It never seems to be as sort of straightforward and as logical as my engineering mind would like it to be.
Right.
And so unfortunately there's some dread in there.
What is one thing that you hope to accomplish, want to accomplish, but cannot do on your own?
Well, I feel it's exactly what we're talking about here. It's that I want to switch on the light for people that need a light. You know, to the extent that I can't do that by myself, right? I mean, to be able to reach people who are looking for that, I need to develop relationships and have a network of people, support, connections, people who think about that, so when they meet somebody who needs help, they might think of me. So it's a whole community. That's what I need to do.
And that brings us to question number 10. Big finale, the last one.
Number 10.
The question
right.
is, what do you hope people will say about you after you were gone?
Well, I think it's what I was sort of articulating then. It's like to be remembered as the person who helped to switch on a light, to be able to be the person that helped somebody get somewhere in their lives that they didn't know that they were going to be able to get to. So that's what I want to be remembered for.
Stephen, that was fantastic. Man, I really appreciate you taking the time to share with our audience today. You are amazing.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that.